It's lovely to be here. I'm sorry I'm at the end of the day, and I'm brutally aware that I have 5 minutes left after we've all run over a little bit, and I'm also brutally aware that it's me standing between you and a beer, so sorry. I'll get it done with as quickly as possible. So I'm here today to talk about the journey that we've taken over the last 18 months at WWF, from a very creaking, old-fashioned intranet to this modern, social, gorgeous intranet powered by Confluence. So just to avoid any confusion, it's the one with the pandas, not with the wrestlers. I've been there 5 years now, and I think my mates have just about stopped making wrestling jokes. So yeah, thanks for that. A bit of background: we are the largest and one of the most respected conservation organisations around the world. We're in about 100 countries, and we've got about 5 million supporters around the world. And in the UK, which is the bit I work for, there's about 350 people spread around 4 different offices. So this intranet is for those people. So first, just a little bit of history about the intranet. The version we replaced was set up in 2001. So to put that in perspective, this was before YouTube, before MySpace, before Twitter, before Facebook, and Google had only just started making money. Wikipedia had just launched, and Brian won Big Brother. So in web terms, it's getting on a little bit. So we had this beauty. You can't really see it too well on the projector, but it's this glorious shade of beige, which kind of gave you everything you needed to know about quite how depressing it was to use. And it was a complete process bottleneck. We had one person working on it, and if you wanted something on there, we had this shiny little arena wizard. That was basically a form that sent them an email. So when we wanted to get stuff up there, there was no WYSIWYG editing, there was no Confluence 4 editor, there wasn't even wiki markup. You had to create a Word document with special formatting tags in it that then got loaded into this horrible thing called HTML transit, which produced this weird format that then ended up as HTML. And here, take a look at the top. You got the main navigation tabs at the top. No one used them. Everybody used the A to Z. It was the only way to find anything. And the search engine up there is only to find people, not content. So complete nightmare. Won't dwell on that too much. The A to Z comes back later though, so remember that. So what we wanted to, I hate using the word Web 2.0, but it's that kind of move from formal to informal, to go from stuff that's dictated to stuff that's owned by the people, and to go from these sort of momentous tablets of stone to the kind of water cooler conversation that people remember and love. It's that kind of general power shift from the few to the many. So, you know, information used to look like this. It used to be the Encyclopedia Britannica taking up 3 shelves of your parents' house, and now it looks like this, which is edited by thousands of people who are volunteers who do it for the love of the job. Just a small side note. Sorry, I put the text at the bottom, but I really recommend it. Anyone that works on a wiki-based system, go and have a look at this. This is bit.ly/rockdots. Any metal fans in the audience will know Motorhead, Motley Crue, that lot have these little umlauts over the O's in their names. It's very metal. And it's called the metal umlaut. Anyway, that's irrelevant. But this guy, John Udell, has done this little exploration of what editing a wiki page looks like. He's gone through the whole version history of the page on Wikipedia and done this sort of 5-minute video narrating the kind of shifts and changes in that context. So you can see kind of when people kind of add loads of garbage, when people revert that out, when you get little kind of edit fights over stuff. You know, this is kind of writ large the kind of world we're playing in now, and it's fantastic. So we were looking at internet platforms. There was history within the WWF network of using Confluence. I don't know if anyone's heard of Earth Hour, but that's a big WWF campaign around the world. And the Earth Hour global team had been using Confluence for a couple of years to coordinate the campaign across, you know, all of the 40 offices taking part around the world. So we kind of used it. It looks quite out of the box Confluence, so you can recognise the left nav and the styling's all very sort of default. And that caused some problems with adoption, to be frank, because, you know, it was fairly ugly. So what we did, we got together a group of 40 people from around the organisation, and they're called our Grapevine Group. They're not particularly for this project, they do internal communications and knowledge sharing. And we got them together, and we got them in a room, and we started talking about the project and the aims of it, to really get kind of from day one buy-in of people from every single team. So these are the guys that were eventually responsible for dragging all of that content out of these horrible little silos and getting it into Confluence, or Arena as we call it. They're also our guinea pigs and test group. So as well as that group, we sent out a little survey to everyone around the organisation and looked at what people actually use the system for. Obviously this is slightly swayed by what they can use the system for, because it was that whole beige monstrosity. But who's who, so looking up their colleagues, downloading forms and WWF news, and this one here is linking off to the other web apps that we use, so our purchase order system and how to claim your expenses. So those kind of far and away the big things. So we got a few people in a room and did a card sorting exercise. So we stuck bits of post-it note up on the window, and this ended up being our navigation structure. So top nav and everything that falls underneath it. We had another tool. She didn't know it, but Mary was our receptionist. She's now retired, bless her. So talk about persona mapping. You know, what would Mary do? Mary doesn't do technology. She has to be talked through every single thing you want her to do, even the phone system. So whenever we're looking at what we want to do with this platform, what would Mary do? And through that kind of thought process, we got to this, which is what Arena looks like. Doesn't look a lot like most Confluence installs that I've seen, because what we've done is stripped out loads of the default functionality out of the templates. It's all there if you look, but the main interface really, really stripped back. So at the top of the grey navigation bar is a big drop-down panel. And this is all replace the dashboard. So when you go to the home page, this is what you see. So you don't get all that sort of customized stuff. What we have done, you can see over here, we've got My Arena. That's the link to the old dashboard. But we tested the standard dashboard, and people didn't really get it. So we didn't want to freak people out, didn't want to scare the horses. So we've got this is updated every day. And then we've got those kind of regularly used tools on the right-hand side. So one of the big things that we were trying to do is replace the scourge of the all-staff email. Does everyone get really buggered by people sending lots and lots of emails saying, oh, I want this, oh. One of the ones that we were getting was people going, the receptionist sending around the sandwich list every day, and you just think there must be a better way of doing this. So now it's a page on Arena, and if anyone wants it, they click the little star, the envelope next to the star, which is mark and notify. So every time it's updated, they get that through, which saves so much hassle. I take my lunch in, I don't need to know. Similarly, we get a lot of emails saying, I've lost my mug. Everyone's very attached to their mugs. And I saw a few of these coming through, and I thought, oh, there's got to be a better way of doing that. So I went around my team with my camera phone and took pictures of everyone's mugs and chucked them up on the page. It took 5 minutes, if that, probably less than that. I had a big smile on my face when I was doing this, because it was fairly early days, and it was like, that was so easy. It was fantastic. And then I went around each of the 4 T points around our building and just put little post-it notes next to the big sort of mound of broken and lost china, saying, you know, lost your mug, search on Arena for mug shots, and they'd get here, which I think was quite a neat solution. Because it was quite early days, everyone had a bit of humour, a bit of sense of humour about it, and I think it really did help kind of get that right vibe about the tool. Then we've got other more sort of innovative ways of using the tool. One thing that's been a huge help is being able to embed arbitrary code. So what we've got here is Google Maps embedded with a KML file overlaid, which has a point for each place around the world, well, a selection of places around the world where WWF has fieldwork going on. So you can zoom in and see, you know, the project that's going on in the ground in Spain, and you can click on that little thing and it flies out with a little description, a link to the video. It's really neat. It's stuff that we use on our external website, but it's about bringing that in so staff can see it and get that same sort of experience on a tool that they're used to. In a similar vein, we've used those little embeds to do polls as well. So this is Poll Daddy. So on our homepage, this page kind of shows the archive of all the polls we've run, because we haven't got one at the moment. But our homepage features polls. So if we're doing, we have these lunchtime debates every so often. So we run little polls before and after. So, you know, what do you think about this issue? And you see what the temperature is. And then you have the debate. And then you run the poll again and see if it changes. You get a lot of very passionate discourse, which is fantastic. Just to talk a little bit about adoption, this is a photo gallery that's been put together, again, much like I did the mugshots one, but this was put together by someone that isn't technical at all. This is someone that just took the tool and thought, I'm going to put a photo gallery up, uploaded a bunch of images as attachments, found the macro that did image galleries and did it. And this is fantastic. When you just stumble over things like this shows that sort of, this has become a tool. And this is very relevant. This is a staff party. But there's things that are less relevant as well. Just to show a little bit of custom development that we did. This was done in the online team. So this is journey sharing. So we're out in the sticks of Godalming. Public transport's okay, but quite a few people drive in. Obviously, we're trying to encourage people to be very sustainable in their methods of transport to the office. So we have this thing where people can volunteer to pick people up and say, I'm happy to do lift sharing. Put your postcode in, and you can see who lives nearby you and get in touch with them. It's all very, very opt-in, so there's nothing weird there, nothing creepy. A small point, if any of you are running Confluence and don't do this, then you absolutely must. Sign up to get the email every 24 hours that shows the pages that have changed. I love seeing this. It's like a heartbeat. You kind of get this feel for the flows and kind of things that people are creating. This is the only place I know where you can see that kind of thing without going through a huge long dashboard. But just daily, just have a quick skim through it and just say, oh right, that person and that thing and that's coming up, and that's really important. So maybe we can do something with that on the homepage. Or maybe that's just utter bullshit, but hey, it's fun. Another thing that I've been really keen to do over the last 18 months is get people to include it in their staff reviews. If managers include updating this, like the chap from Sony was saying, include this in your core, you have to do this. I think it just really underlines the importance of corporate information lives here. We're doing a lot of stuff with analytics. We've got Google Analytics built in. Again, it's not a standard thing, but if you're not, you should. It's really fascinating. But one of the things that we set in place as part of the project were the KPIs. So we're looking at how many people are using it on a daily basis. That's kind of easy because it's the default thing that happens when you log in. There's no option not to use it because it's right in front of you. But then what we're also doing is tracking some interesting numbers, like how many people around the organisation are doing something more than looking at a page. How many people are creating a page, editing a page, or putting a comment on a page. So we set the target of, I think it was 30% when we started off on this journey. And by the end of the year, we were at 35%. So I was quite happy with that. Of course, now it's 40%. But that was, to get those numbers wasn't something we could do by default out of Confluence, so we had to do a little bit of custom code. I think it was a macro that one of our web developers built that gets all that out for us. Talking about that sort of stuff that's less important, we're really lucky because our office backs onto the River Wey. So you look out of my office window and I can look down on trees and water, and it's beautiful. But there's a dark side to it. There's crayfish in the river. I don't know who knows about crayfish, but there are problems in the UK where we have this invasive species of crayfish called the signal crayfish that's come over from America. Obviously, being a conservation organisation, this is very important to us. So we have a page on our intranet about the crayfish, and we have a small group of people who have a licence from the Environment Agency to go and take the crayfish out. So we've got this page on Arena, which is very WWF. Starts off with the scientific Latin name, talks about the conservation issues, why you should care about it and what you can do about it, then goes on to recipes. We are in Godalming, it's very sorry. Just to have a very tiny diversion away from Confluence, another tool we've been playing with recently is Yammer. Is anyone using Yammer? Excellent. This is a kind of, like chap from OCS was saying, paid for on the company credit card. IT knew nothing about it. We started off with the online team, and it's got this really, really, really viral sign-up mechanism where you've got this whole thing about completing your org chart. And when you put someone's email address in, they get an invite to Yammer. So you've unwittingly suddenly recruited half the organisation to it. So we played with this, and then I got the IT director on the phone saying, Adrian, what's all this about Yammer? Yeah, I meant to talk to you about that. Luckily, he's a cool guy, and we kind of came to an agreement, so it's kind of still in that R&D phase. But in the online team, we use it for collecting status updates. So rather than that whole thing of writing an update that gets emailed around, we just do a little... Sorry, I should explain to those that don't know. Yammer is like an internal Twitter. So little status updates, not limited to 140 characters, but you can put links and mentions and hashtags and that kind of stuff in, and it's locked down by email address, so anyone outside the organisation can't see any of this. So we do our little status updates using Online Weekly Update, and then rather than having a big page with a long-winded status update, I just link to the hashtag so that my boss can just click on it and she sees a list of everyone's status updates. Really neat. But again, going back to that other thing I was saying earlier, you know, we encourage people to have fun with it. You know, ownership comes through being able to have fun with it and not feeling like someone's looking over your shoulder. So, you know, this is Keith, who's our technical manager, showing off this huge, great big pie he's made, which is really lovely, actually. But in terms of information management and the social intranet, there's a guy whose opinion I trust so much. He's called Ewan Semple, big Scottish guy, lovely chap. Has anyone heard of him? Yeah, great. So go and have a look at his website. And he has this great quote, which is, if you try to reduce all the noise in your system, you eventually lose any signal. Our attempts to protect ourselves from rubbish can mean we lose the gold dust. The first link there, bit.ly/SempleVid, it's a 20-minute lecture that he gave last year, and it kind of goes from there all the way up to his experience being a knowledge management person at the BBC. And again, I really strongly recommend you watch it. That's it from me. Thank you very much. Thanks to all of you for sitting through the last 10 minutes. And also a huge thank you to Atlassian and all the plugin developers, because as a charity, we get given a lot of this software for free, which I cannot say how valuable that is to organisations like us. So thank you very much.